Governor Patrick Morrisey visited Parkersburg today to announce new funding to support victims of crimes. Our Chase Campbell has more.
Governor Patrick Morrisey visited Parkersburg Thursday to announce more than $16 million in federal grant funding to support crime victims across West Virginia. The Victims of Crime Act grant funding will support 83 projects statewide, providing services like counseling, emergency shelter, legal advocacy, and crisis intervention for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, and other violent crimes. Morrisey said the grants represent a commitment to the safety and support of West Virginia residents.
I think these grants are an investment in people's recovery. It's exciting to be here today. I think in West Virginia, we want to make sure everyone knows that there will be justice, there will be healing, and there will be hope.
In Wood County, the County Commission will receive more than $71,000 to employ victim advocates in the prosecutor's office who serve thousands of crime victims every year. This is the 29th year the county has received VOCA funding for its victim advocates. Wood County Prosecutor Pat Lefebvre says the advocates act as essential liaisons between his office and victims of the crimes it prosecutes.
It is a very important process for my office to be able to continue to have that open communication with victims so that their wants, wishes, and are heard, and that those can be communicated to the court during these court hearings.
Lefebvre says the advocates help victims navigate the court process as their cases move through the system.
A lot of times we're dealing with victims who have never been through the court system, and they educate them on the steps and what's going to happen in the normal circumstances of a case and how it's going to progress.
The Family Crisis Intervention Center, which serves Wood and surrounding counties, will also receive $358,000 for trauma-informed services. The grants are provided by the U.S. Department of Justice and administered by the West Virginia Division of Administrative Services. In Parkersburg, Chase Campbell, WTAP News.
WTAP looks